Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for your Tottenham versus Chelsea Premier League match preview. I normally post the previews on the morning of the games, but because Spurs away is my personal biggest fixture of the Premier League season, I make it absolutely zero. Like, no one can make a mistake when they know that I really don't like Tottenham Hotspur for a multitude of different reasons that could be an entire documentary in itself. But this is the one that I want to win more than any game. So, in classic GBFC style, this is the biggest game of the season. And of course, so far, because Chelsea will probably be competing for honours come the end of the year, and there'll be bigger games than this one away at Spurs. But this is massive. Before we get into the rest of the preview, building my starting lineup, I want to see if we can hit 4,000 likes on this preview. I always set a target to hit 3,000 before kickoff of a match, but because we get an extra few hours, I've gone for 4,000. If you guys can do that, that'd be excellent. And subscribe if you haven't already done so. Before we get into talking about this heavyweight clash in the Premier League near the top of the table, I want to ask you guys to go into the description and download Ultimate Fan. It is the app that I'm going to be working with for the entirety of the Premier League season. And stupidly from me yesterday, I totally forgot that Newcastle versus Leeds was actually on a Friday night. When I look at the fixtures on my phone, because I live in Bali and it's 7 hours ahead, it showed that the Newcastle Leeds game was actually on the 18th of September, which is today. So I totally forgot to remind you guys before this game week to get the app downloaded, get everything ready so that you can build your team. This week, I got some great players in my packs, but I've not managed to put them in the squad on time. Got Mo Salah, we got Kyle Walker. I think I also managed to get some more decent players like Rafinha in the pack, some decent point scorers. So for next week, I'm going to be laughing. But for this week, I got the same team as I did last week because I completely underestimated how much time I had to build my team for this week. Link is in the description. Make sure you download it. Everybody who does directly supports me, and it is a really fun fantasy football / pack opening style game where you don't know what you're going to get, but the better packs you get, the better your team is for the following week. Spurs versus Chelsea. This is absolutely massive. Tottenham have won 3 out of their opening 4 matches. They were battered away at Palace last week. I watched the whole game, and it was shocking from Spurs. From minute 1, they didn't create chances. Defensively, in the last 15 minutes, they absolutely capitulate at the hands of Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira gets his first victory as a Premier League manager. Crystal Palace 3-0. Odsonne Edouard, who signs from Celtic, comes on and scores within 20 seconds of being on the pitch and then wraps it up right at the end. It was a poor Spurs performance, but this week they do have the return of Romero. They've got Davinson Sanchez back in the side and Giovanni Lo Celso as well. So they're getting back towards a full-strength team. Heung-min Son is their danger man, in my opinion. I think he's their best player. Harry Kane, yes, of course, he's been their best player, probably their best ever Premier League player at Tottenham Hotspur. There were talks this week, and it was an interview with Thomas Tuchel talking about Harry Kane, and he said that Chelsea were never close to signing the player, and for that, I'm actually really happy. I said here on GBFC that Harry Kane would be a wonderful Chelsea signing. The thing is, I'm actually kind of happy that he stayed at Spurs, not because, obviously, Harry Kane is a top-quality, world-class striker, and yes, he does make Tottenham a better team. But the problem is, he doesn't win anything there anyway, and if he'd have gone to Manchester City, then, well, that would have been curtains for everybody in every competition. A bit like PSG, supposedly, but they can't even beat Club Brugge in the Champions League. If Kane would have gone to City, he'd have been the finite piece within that Manchester City Guardiola jigsaw. It would have been a problem for the rest of the Premier League. He stayed at Spurs, and to an extent, I kind of feel a bit sorry for him, really, because he's a bit too good to be at that club, and they don't win anything. And it's unfair for a striker of that quality to be burdened with having to be a Tottenham player again, thanks to Daniel Levy, and not wanting to sell him. Spurs can be very dangerous. Nuno Espirito Santo has made them far more difficult to break down. Last week, I think, was kind of an anomaly in what will be a season from Tottenham where they're actually very difficult to beat in the sense of they're very well defensively drilled. Last week it fell apart, but it also fell apart going forward too. So Heung-min Son is going to be ready for this game against Chelsea, and I think that he immediately makes Tottenham a far better side, particularly if Harry Kane is fit and available as well. But without any further ado, I'm going to stop talking about these lot now because Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea, we are on a roll. And the good thing about this cinnamon roll that we're on right now is that we've not really entered into 4th or 5th gear yet. We've kind of just been a nicely baked cinnamon roll without the little topping that you get on top to make it nice and moist. Don't know where I was going with that one. That is a classic GBFC fail. But I believe this game away at Spurs is not only the perfect opportunity for Chelsea to turn it up a notch, to see what we can do, but it is a massive game to make a statement to the rest of the Premier League, to beat our biggest rivals and remind the rest of the world that London is categorically a blue city. You know, we're the only ones who seem to win trophies these days. Arsenal throw in a couple of FA Cups in there, but I'd go as far as to say that Spurs might as well consider themselves behind Leyton Orient in the list of top London clubs because, well, their trophy cabinet has got more dust than there is under the flipping floorboards of your house. So, without any further ado, it is time to build my Chelsea lineup that will go to Tottenham and get a result. I know that I'm a little bit, a bit too far away of things sometimes when I talk about Spurs. And if we do lose tomorrow, then congratulations, Tottenham. Well done. You beat one of the best teams in the world. But I really don't care. I don't like Spurs and I don't like to hide it. And I'm never going to say anything other than that, really. So we begin with the goalkeeper. And it is, of course, Edouard Mendy. Mr. Clean Sheet himself. Every time that Edouard Mendy goes out on the field for Chelsea at the moment, it's golden. He's had 16 shots to face this season on target against him, other than the Mo Salah penalty, and he saved every single one. He was arguably the man of the match last week against Aston Villa. There was definitely a case for Kovacic and Lukaku as well. But Mendy was absolutely excellent. He keeps making these big saves. He's looking more and more confident now with his distribution than he did before. Still, sometimes when the ball's at his feet, I do get a little bit worried. But it's been a long time since he's made a fatal error in a Chelsea shirt. And he keeps his spot as Chelsea's number one of the very best in the world. We move into a centre-back three, going with a 3-4-2-1 today. And we are keeping with Azpilicueta, Christensen and Tony Rudiger in the back three. Reece James missed the game against Aston Villa last week. He is back and ready to face Tottenham tomorrow. I keep umming and ahhing about going with Reece James or Azpilicueta in the wing-back position, but the goal that we scored against Zenit on Tuesday night with Azpilicueta putting in the cross, the thing I really liked about this is normally when you think in your mind about scoring a goal from a cross in football, you get to the byline, you put it in, or from a corner it comes in and then it kind of goes backwards and then somebody in the 18-yard box converts. What I really liked about the goal that we scored against Zenit was the position in which Azpilicueta crosses the ball was a lot deeper, and Lukaku's obviously got the power and the strength and the ability to be in that right place to sandwich himself between defenders and still score the goal. So I think with Azpi playing in the right centre-back position, he isn't necessarily always going to be the furthest forward on that right-hand side because Reece James can stretch the game out, give Chelsea some more width, go towards the byline, and then Azpi's kind of floating on the edge of the area with that ability to once again confuse Tottenham with putting in those crosses for Lukaku. Azpi's very good at being a presence on and around the edge of the area. So with Reece James going forward as a direct wide target, I think Azpi in the right centre-back position has become one of the very best at getting forward and involving himself in Chelsea's attacking play. Christensen or Thiago Silva, for this one, it's a 50-50. I could literally flip a coin and choose either of them to be that central defender. We know just how good Thiago Silva is. He was monstrous at the back, going with that nickname that he's had all those years called Monstro for Brazil, Paris Saint-Germain and everywhere he's been. He was excellent, but Christensen, I just think with that potential Spurs counter-attacking pace, with Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, potentially Lucas Moura as well, I think Christensen's pace alongside the speed that we know of Tony Rudiger could well be Chelsea's best way to diffuse any potential issues with Spurs trying to catch us on the break. I think Chelsea will dominate the majority of possession, even though Tottenham are at home, because I think that's the way that Espirito Santo doesn't mind setting up his Spurs team so far this season. We move into the two wing-backs, and Marcus Alonso keeps his place again. I think it's tough for Ben Chilwell. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe it's the Carabao Cup game at home to Aston Villa next week that Ben Chilwell gets a start, puts in a big performance, and then maybe the conversation starts to get a little closer once again between both Alonso and Ben Chilwell. He's been so good, Marcus Alonso, and he also loves a goal against Spurs. Chelsea have been putting him on the images that they posted to social media this week in promotion of the Tottenham game, and I just think Alonso's going to score in this one, so I'll put him in and Reece James in the right wing-back position. We move into another controversial yet brilliant problem that Chelsea have for this game against Spurs. Which players play in the midfield too? N'Golo Kante is back. He is fit. He's 100% ready for this game at the new White Hart Lane. However, Jorginho has been absolutely magnificent. Ever since Thomas Tuchel came in, he's been one of Chelsea's biggest and best players. Mateo Kovacic is in wonderful form. I feel as though since he's given that number 8 shirt from Ross Barkley, he's kind of had a bit of a chip on his shoulder where Chelsea over the years have had number 8s. Frank Lampard is the one that we're all thinking of here. Number 8s who score goals, number 8s who get forward and contribute to the attacking threat that Chelsea have. I feel like ever since he's had that shirt, Kovacic has kind of looked at that number and he might look in the mirror and think, you know what? It's time for me to start being more confident, to make those runs. We know he's one of the best dribblers in Europe with the ball at his feet, and now he's progressing that into more advanced areas. And I think for me, N'Golo Kante in a big game like this, if he's 100% fit, like Thomas Tuchel says, he has to come back in the team. I think he's the best midfielder Chelsea have, and we've got some real good ones. Kante there, and I've put him alongside Mateo Kovacic. I think in terms of form for this game, I cannot drop Kovacic. I cannot risk it. And I think those two together, again, you get some great balance. Both very, very astute defensively. Kovacic now developing going forward. Kante last 3 years has been much better going forward too. I think it's a good balance for Chelsea in this one with Jorginho to come off the bench if it isn't working and Spurs gain control of that midfield as the bike's passed. We move into Chelsea's front three. Again, a very, very tricky one, this one, because there are a plethora of players that we could pick and rationalise a good reason for each and every one of them. I have a feeling that Hakim Ziyech's going to play. However, the front three that I've gone with today, I'm not going to stick Werner alongside Lukaku for this game because I think that Mason Mount and Kai Havertz are too important. There's a lot of people that I've seen saying that Mason Mount shouldn't start this game against Spurs because he didn't have his best game against Zenit St. Petersburg on Tuesday night. Granted, Mason Mount wasn't at his best on Tuesday. However, we know just how important this man is to Chelsea's side. And I think against Spurs, they've got some very strong players in there. Mason Mount, very tenacious. Kai Havertz, silky when he's got the ball. And I think those two linking up together could be key to involve Romelu Lukaku in this game. I think overall, Chelsea are going to be trying to find a front three that can be consistently deployed as the best front three. And I think at the moment, Thomas Tuchel has got a good idea that if Mount and Havertz can put that link-up play with Lukaku, then that is the most fruitful and that could be the best partnership for Chelsea. So the good thing also is when you look at the bench, you've got Hakim Ziyech there, you've got Timo Werner there, you've got players that can make a difference. It's Christian Pulisic's birthday today, by the way, so happy birthday to CP. He's not going to be fit for this one. He is back in training, but just individual training at the moment, nothing involved with the rest of the team. That's good to see, but the fact that Kante is back is the reason I think Chelsea are going to win this game. And I was invited very kindly onto Thogden's channel with Thogdad for Premier League predictions this week. And I was filming it and I'm like, yeah, Spurs decent defensively now, but I just got a feeling that this is the game that Chelsea turn up. And again, I say it every single time. I could look like a tit if this all goes a little bit wrong and the Spirito Santo gets the number of Thomas Tuchel and Spurs get a result here, but I really couldn't care less. I like to make bold predictions and I'm going to make a bold prediction for this game now. I believe the final score, sticking with what I said on Thogden's channel, is Spurs 0, Chelsea 4. 2 goals for Romelu Lukaku, 1 for Mason Mount, and 1, as it always is, testimony, Marcus Alonso to get on the score sheet. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As I said at the beginning, if you're not yet signed up to Ultimate Fan, it's a bit too late to join for this game week, but make sure you are signed up so that next week, when the packs drop on Tuesday, you are ready to rock and roll. There's big money to be won every single week. I think there's £8,500 up for grabs this week. So if you're entered, let me know in the comments what your team is, or maybe tweet me an image of the side you're facing this week. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you are new. 4,000 likes for a 4-0 prediction. Come on, you Blues.